So let me turn off my music. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. It's lovely to have you. This was all quite last minute. So as I seem to do a lot of things these days, but it is in alignment and flow for me. And, you know, as I was preparing this class, I actually felt what a blessing it was to prepare a class, because it makes me do a deeper dive into things. I've just realized I don't have my notes in front of me. So it really, this is as much for me as for you guys. And these are all oils that I know and love. So I sort of thought, well, I could actually do this class almost just without preparation. Not that I'm so brilliant, but just because I love these oils and I use most of them every day. And so I thought, well, I can share this authentically anyway with hardly preparing. And then as I was preparing, I was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness I'm preparing, because I thought I knew this, and actually it's so much more. As I said in my little message, it's been like joining the dots and then seeing this miraculous picture occur. And this is part of the miracle of this journey with doTERRA. It's almost like they know what we're dealing with at the moment. They know what the world is going for. And I think it's divinely inspired what comes out at the time. So often there's an oil launch just at the time that we're actually needing it. I mean, those like Belinda who know the oils actually better than me, she's used the oils much longer than me, will know about this. So often we're like, how did they know? Anyway, but welcome to the class this morning. For those who don't know me, I'm Nicola Elwood. I'm a mother of three not so young children. Our daughter's 16 and our boys are 13 and 11. I'm also a wife and a physiotherapist. And my interest in my physio training took me to, I specialized in sports, spinal physio, headaches, migraines, back and neck physio. And then I went overseas, I went much more into sports and spinal physio. Very much sports and spinal. And then as my journey progressed in life, as so often happens, and I was pregnant and had children, I went much more into women's health physio and developed a real interest and love for women's health physio. Oh, I forgot to switch this on. Let me just brighten myself up a bit. We all need all the help we can get these days. And so I studied women's health physio, and I teach courses for women called Feminine Wisdom, where I tie together all of this that I've gleaned along my life's journey and in my work, where I help to connect women with the wisdom of their bodies, their hormonal cycles, their monthly cycles, whether they're menstruating or not, with their pelvic floors and what's really going on down there, the highs, the lows, the orgasms and incontinence and everything in between. So I do talk about stuff that no one else really does talk about. I find myself having the most interesting conversations at the side of the paddle tennis court like last night. Anyway, and then I also teach mindfulness and breath work. That's been my journey because I feel that so much of the stuff that goes on in our body is because of our stress and anxiety, and these tools really help us to become present and to ground in our bodies. So I've just had the privilege of leading something called the Spring Shed with three of my dear friends and colleagues, with Didi Mogoshua, Nikki Hutton, or Nikki Lefson, and Sally Knott. They are all different professionals in their own areas of life coaching, clinical psychology, nutrition, and health coaching. And they're amazing women, and we've been needing 150 other amazing women who are all professionals and so knowledgeable in their own areas, as we've shared our schmutz, shared our stuff, shared our shit, and stepping into spring. And when this box was launched, I looked at it and I thought I could not have scripted a more perfect box for this group of Step Into Springers. Some of you are on this call, and others will listen later. Because this is what this box is about. And I actually meant to screen record Tertia's class on the emotions of the oils. And now Tertia is in our extended team. She owns EO Supplies, which is a wonderful essential oil supplier. They have lots of lovely books, and like this book that I'm going to be using quite a lot in my discussions today, this is where all my research came from. She also does essential oil consultations, and she's got a sort of whole dermatology clinic, which is all based on more natural tools. And Tertia yesterday, well, a couple of days ago, led a class on their emotions, the emotional aspects of this, which is not an aspect I come from. I come from, as a physio, I come from the physical aspect, but I've learned and grown to love the emotional aspect. Tertia comes from the emotional side of things. And it was astounding because she opened up her class and it's like 2 minutes, 40 seconds, because I keep looking at it and thinking, gosh, I must screen record it. She said, this kit is all about stepping into spring and shedding our stuff. I mean, it's like, she's not even doing the shed. She's not even part of that. And so this is the theme. It's not just me saying that, this is the theme that comes through on this box. So we plan to do, we've had such a wonderful time on our spring shed. We plan to do seasonal sheds in the future. And so if you didn't join us on the spring shed, but it's something that you might want to do in future, this box is for you too, because come and join us. This is the perfect box for any seasonal sheds that we'll do in future. And so, yeah, needless to say, I highly recommend Tertia's 30-minute class, and the name of the class is Bloom Where You Are Planted. So just to give you a little bit of an oversight and introduction, I come from a Western medical background. I was trained in Western physiotherapy, very much come from that aspect. But something that we must know and understand about Western medicine is that it is suppressive by its nature. So an anti-inflammatory suppresses the inflammatory response, an antihistamine suppresses the histamine response, an antibiotic will suppress overgrowth of bacteria. So that's what it's meant to do. It's to help us get through a time, because if we have a sort of histamine response that's out of all proportion, we then can't function. So we take an antihistamine to stop our eyes scratching, our nose running, our sneezing, so that we can actually function in the world. It acts like a crutch to help us get through a time. And as physios, we know crutches very well. We put patients on crutches all the time. If someone sprained their ankle badly, we'll put them on a set of crutches to allow them to take the pressure off that ankle and allow that ankle to heal. But we also know that if we leave them on crutches for too long, they'll develop an imbalance. They'll develop something whereby their muscles become weaker, their core muscles become weaker, their ankle muscles become weaker, they lose their proprioception. They actually can have a detrimental effect. So Western medicine is wonderful in its use for helping us get through a time, but it's often not so great for the chronic stuff that's ongoing, because all it does is help mask the symptoms to help us get through a time. It treats the symptoms, it's not treating the root cause. Supplements work in a way that we see where we have deficiencies in our system, and we supplement with supplements to help build up those deficiencies. But again, they're not nudging our body to do what it does best, which is when our body is in good repair and when our body is healthy and well, it is self-healing. And that's the incredible thing. And that was what my journey of mindfulness and breath work and all the other healing. I've done so much research over the last 30 years on health and healing and how the body heals. And our body is naturally self-healing and repairing, but it needs to be in a good state. And so this is what the difference is, because supplements can fulfill a role, but they don't encourage our body to start producing dopamine or producing things that we might be lacking. Where oils come in differently, and homeopathy and so breath work and mindfulness, they help to access the parasympathetic nervous system, which is when healing occurs. So mindfulness and breath work, we can tell our bodies that we are safe and secure, that we might be under pressure, we might have a presentation, we might be stressed, we might be running late, but actually we're safe and secure. We're not being chased by a lion, a tiger, we're not under threat. And so our body can then focus on healing. Whereas when our body's in the sympathetic nervous system, which we on Western society are spending far too much time in the sympathetic nervous system, our body doesn't naturally self-repair, because when you are being chased by a lion, the last thing you have to think about is healing something deeper in your body. You're just thinking about surviving the next 5 minutes. So that's why we turn to oils, because oils nudge our body back into homeostasis, into alignment. They help our body to do what our body does best. And this is where, as a physio, I started really being astounded by the oils, because I know the normal healing time for a sprained ankle. I know the normal healing time for a bruise to resolve. I know how people respond when they've put their back out and what we normally do. But when I started using the oils, both for myself and our family, and then started to sort of share them with others, I was astounded by what I saw in terms of how quickly the tissue healed, how quickly the body's inflammatory response worked to bring the body back to homeostasis, how quickly the root bruise resolved. All these things, which I thought was the normal healing time, I suddenly realized we could affect with oils. The oils weren't healing the body was healing itself, but the oils were helping to create the environment for that. And why doTERRA? Why do we only teach on doTERRA? Because what I tell you today, I cannot say you'll get the same effect from other oils. There are very good brands of oils, but there is no FDA or governing body governing essential oils. There's no one checking that what's on the bottle is in the bottle. So anyone can say 100% pure, 100% natural, 100% lavender, and no one's actually checking. And we have to then trust, it's like the cannabis industry. We have to trust our supplier. We have to trust that they are honest and have integrity, or we have to ask for their transparency of their testing. And this is something that we should be asking for. So doTERRA insists on this for themselves, and they develop something called certified pure therapeutic grade testing. And that underneath every single bottle of oil is a number that you can put on a website called Source to You. I don't know if you can see that clearly. No, you can't, but if you pick up a bottle of oil, you see under any one, it will say the expiry date, and then you can find out where this oil was sourced from and the results of the testing. And doTERRA does 43 of the tests in-house, and 11 are done externally by the Aromatic Plant Research Center, which is an independent center that anyone can have their oils tested by. And they say on their front page of their website, they say that they do random testing of market oils, and 80 to 90% of the oils are adulterated in some way. So they've got synthetic fragrances to make lavender smell more perfume like lavender. Our lavender smells quite different to our traditional lavender thought of what lavender should smell like. And they don't have synthetic, so don't have synthetic fillers. They don't have carrier oils. They don't have things added or taken away. They don't have traces of pesticides and fertilizers. What you see on the bottle is in the bottle in its purest form and sourced from areas in the world where these plants grow most therapeutically. So I cannot say that for any other oils. I haven't looked into any of their testing, but I can say it for doTERRA. And as a result, we'll be talking about taking oils internally. doTERRA is the only brand that I can say that you can take internally. Perhaps there are others. Again, if you find out the testing and the purity and purity of them, then perhaps you can. But I can only stand for this because I know that what's on the bottle is in the bottle. So let's move into this. So what is in the box? So I got my box yesterday, and I was very excited to open it, even though, as I say, I've already got a lot of these oils. And as I just mentioned earlier, a lot of the information is coming from the Essential Life book and from my own experience and from the experiences of some of my clients and family and friends along the way. And putting it all together, and that's where the magic happens. And as I mentioned, there is a lot of magic on this journey. Magic, God, divinely inspired, I don't know, but it all happens. And if you are conscious about, as you move into this thing of journey of consciousness, and you start to get the oils and use the oils. I've had a number of people mention to me, especially like recently, saying, oh my gosh, I've used essential oils for ages, and I thought, I'll try some of these oils. And they said, I feel like I'm coming home. I feel this deep cellular connection, and I feel like it awakens this magic woman, the herbal medicine woman inside me. And I mean, I think that those of you like Ruth and Belinda and Marion and Natalie, although I can't see you, Nat, who have, and Robin, who've got oils and have used them for many years. I mean, I know that's what it feels for me. So I think it might feel like that for you too, huh, Ruth and Marion? Yeah. So anyway. So the first oil that I took out the box, and the oil that first in the BOGO was Copaiba. So Copaiba brings our body back to homeostasis. It's our CBD oil. It's our equivalent of cannabis oil, but it doesn't have any of the hallucinogenic effects. It doesn't have any THC. It doesn't work on the central nervous system. It works directly on the peripheral nervous system, which are our peripheral nerves. So that's why it's so outstanding for pain, for inflammation. It's so quick acting. It's really good for autoimmune stuff, for inflammatory conditions, for chronic pain, for arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. It's also really good for anxiety. Copaiba trees are trees that grow in South America. This is a bit like frankincense. In fact, we can use them interchangeably. And if you think about frankincense trees, they grow in the most rugged, desolate landscapes in Somaliland and Oman, the most harsh landscapes. And these trees are rooted and grounded and surviving and thriving and producing the most healing oils because they are constantly healing themselves. So trees like this, we have to bleed them, we cut them, we bleed them, and we take out the resin, and then that gets compressed and distilled. So I didn't close my email, but I don't really want to go out of this, which would distract me. So occasional ping. So Copaiba and frankincense both bring with them qualities of grounding, of calming, of that rootedness, of that deep assurance of a tree that has withstood all sorts of weather and all sorts of conditions. They also heighten anything that they are added to. So if you want to supercharge any blend or mixture, you use Copaiba. So I use it a lot internally, even just before this class, because you can see I get very enthusiastic, I get very excited, I get very out there. And so I sometimes need the grounding and calming. So I'll put a drop under my feet. I'll take a drop or two under my tongue to give me this rooting and calming. I've been using it a lot in this time of our move. We're very displaced. We're kind of living between two places, actually almost three. Stuff is everywhere, and my oils have really helped me to root and calm and ground. So its top use is actually for pain and inflammation, arthritis, gout, and muscle cramps. So that you can take internally, you can take it in a drop of water, take it like that. It's one of the core ingredients of our morning capsule for our spring shed. It's quite astounding with that sort of thing. And you can also use it topically. So we use it with Deep Blue and Deep Blue Rub for pain and inflammation, for arthritis. It's even joined together in our Deep Blue stick, which I don't have because every time I get one, I land up either gifting it or someone lands up buying it from me. I sent mine to school this morning with my son Finn because a friend has contacted me to say her son has such growing pains, he's waking up at night and she had to give him a microdose at night. So this is the Deep Blue stick, combines Copaiba and Deep Blue, and is amazing for all sorts of pain, inflammation, and tissue healing. So it's also amazing for liver toxicity and issues and kidney issues. And just to tell you a little story about Pia, who I teach, I've taught a few classes with. Pia is a cancer survivor. She had breast cancer and she had cancer in her one kidney and had to have that kidney removed. She then had one kidney left, and that kidney was only 50% function. Now, you are told not to take any anti-inflammatories when you're on a journey like this because anti-inflammatories are so heavy on and toxic on kidneys. So she was told not to take anti-inflammatories. And we often say that Copaiba has an anti-inflammatory effect, but that's actually incorrect because, again, these aren't suppressive. It doesn't suppress our body's own inflammatory response. It encourages our body's own inflammatory response to work better. So she was quite worried. She felt really drawn to taking this, but she was quite worried about it. So she decided to start taking it sort of 3 weeks before her next blood test so that she could see how her kidney function would be affected, if she could see if there was any negative effect or positive effect. She started taking it twice a day in a bit of water. And when she had her next test 3 weeks later, it was the first time that that kidney function hadn't been deteriorating, because every time she'd been going, it had been deteriorating and she was getting quite desperate. It was the first time that it had actually stabilized. And subsequent to this, she's been taking it for well over a year or more. And actually her kidney function has improved to the best level it's ever been at since they'd actually been recording it. So it really is astounding for liver and kidney issues. Great for things like tendinitis, plantar fasciitis, and heel spurs, respiratory issues, sore throat and tonsils, bedwetting and incontinence. You don't have to actually take this all down. We give cheat sheets after BOGOs to really give you the in-depth sort of stuff. But also I really recommend getting a copy of this. This is the 6th edition. And the 7th edition has just come out because it's been convention, but all of these are in the 6th edition, which is now going to be much cheaper because there's a 7th edition. But in South Africa, we don't get the newer oils too quickly. So just go for the 6th edition. So it's really helpful. It's also great for colitis and intestinal infections, cancer and autoimmune sort of stuff is profound for cancer and autoimmune stuff, especially used with DDR prime, which isn't in our box, but we'll talk about that another time. And for those coming to Dr. Brannock Riggs's talk next week, he is our doTERRA doctor who specializes in things like cancer and chronic disease, chronic illness, Alzheimer's, and he'll be talking a lot about Copaiba and DDR prime and things like that. And it's great for other infections, nausea, vomiting, digestive stuff, and then again for hair, dry skin, acne, eczema, psoriasis. It's got so much different stuff. So its emotional quality is from plagued to directed. So like plagued with all these different things, also for endometriosis and PMS, for wound healing. Anyone who knows Copaiba, we know that's brilliant for skin. We put it in our skin mix, we put it on, we can put it directly onto skin, we can put it on pimples, and very good for high blood pressure. So it's everything that's calming, grounding, calms our skin, calms our anxiety, calms our pain, grounds us. And that's where we start to find, this is where we start to find the patterns of things coming through. But so that is Copaiba. Oh my gosh, this is meant to be half an hour, and I see we are running out of time. So ZenGest is number 2. So ZenGest is everything digestive. In the US, it's called Digest Zen. It's my daughter's favorite oil at boarding school. The girls all come to her room and ask her for a drop of this in water when they're feeling bloated, constipated. Boarding school food is sometimes a little bit dodgy at best. You can also put a drop on your finger and rub it into your belly button and around your belly button. It helps us also digest. So it helps us to digest and process things that come into our body, whether that is physically digesting and processing, or as Robin talked about in her little video, digesting and processing emotional stuff, if there's stuff that needs to be digested and processed. So it's brilliant for anything around bloating, constipation, gas, period stuff. You know, our tummies are often unsettled around our period. Brilliant for reflux, brilliant for colic, for morning sickness and heartburn. I've always got a roller with me. I carry my rollers in a little bag. In fact, I'll show you. And one of them is always ZenGest, because if anyone's got a sore tummy on the way to school, I will then give it to them. I tell them to, in the car, roll it on their tummy into their belly button. If their tummy is still sore, they must go to the bathroom when they're there and do it again. And if it's still sore after that, they can call me. But, you know, sore tummies and anxiety are often linked, you know, especially for children. That's where our anxiety shows up. Mummy, I've got a sore tummy, because they're actually nervous to go to school. And it's because of that churning, that feeling of churning that our tummy gives us when we're anxious. And so it's a really great oil for anxiety. And it also helps us to break down mucus. So it's very good for breaking down mucus in the gut. So it's really good for things like Crohn's disease and irritable bowel syndrome and colitis. But it's also really great for putting on our sinuses when our sinuses are really blocked. And we've started diffusing it at night, especially when the pollen was so high and we'd wake up with really blocked noses. We'd put it in our diffuser at night, and actually it was amazing for breaking down the mucus. This was a friend of mine who's a client of mine. Actually, I told her about it, breaking down mucus in the sinuses. So then she put it in her diffuser. I said, I'd never even thought to do that. Anyway, it's amazing. So, and again, if you use Copaiba with ZenGest, they just heighten each other. They work so synergistically. They really are great. And then that roller that I keep in here, I also use for travel sickness, because our youngest son, Finn, gets quite car sick, or very car sick, as does Shadow, our little dog. And so then Finn rolls it on his hands or into his palms, or he just smells it from the roller. We sometimes have our little portable diffuser that's going here, and we put that in the car, and that can help too. So that is ZenGest, and why we love ZenGest. It's definitely one of our go-tos. So then we have Console, which is the comforting blend. And Console is one of my favorite oils to gift, because sometimes with grief and sadness, there are no words. And I gifted a Console roller to someone recently last year. And she said to me, Nikki, thank you. She said, I don't know how this is such a comforting thing, but I do put it on and I feel closer to her late husband. And she said, it's really comforting and consoling. She said, it's so well named because it is consoling. And she said, I always see my reflexologist, and she sort of always is about words, like, what's your word for now? What's your word for the year, or whatever. She says, I can't even think about finding joy. I can't even think about anything like that. She says, all I can think is finding some sort of consolation. And so she says that, and so my console is so perfect for that. So it is called the Comforting Blend. It's very good for grief and sadness, for emotional release and reassurance, for fear and emotional release, because when we lose someone who's so key to us, like our husband, often then we have a lot of fear around the future. And when we are, and grief sits on our chest and in our lungs, so that's why breathe is so good for grief as well. So it's also really good, amazingly, I've discovered that today, for lung and bronchial infection, and that's why it makes sense. It's also good for urinary infection and edema and constipation, because that's where we try and control things. That's where we try and hold on to things in that area. That's where also sometimes when things happen, we actually are pissed off with the world. And that's when it shows out in a urinary tract infection. So that's where console is so helpful. Something else that I learned, which I didn't know, is it's good for brain impairment. And we can use it to the forehead and back of neck and the toes for brain impairment. And it's because it is such a comforting blend, and the properties of it are sustaining, reconciling, and alleviation. And if someone has had a brain injury, those are the things you need. You need sustenance, reconciling, and to be relieved. It's got amazing oils in it, which I also didn't appreciate. Things like frankincense, patchouli, which we'll talk about, ylang ylang, sandalwood, rose, osmanthus. Rose is is the most amazing oil. It heals everything, especially the heart. And then it's also good for low libido and skin repair, various other things, but we don't have time to go into all of that now. So, but finally, it's very good for an irregular and racing heart, which we're actually seeing quite a lot of at the moment, post-COVID or post-COVID vaccine, who knows, but also with men struggle a lot with heart attacks. Men have been, for a woman, it's breast cancer, because this is how we nourish and sustain the world, is through our breasts, and nourish and sustain our family, our children. And men have heart attacks generally, and because men hold things close to their heart. They don't show their grief, they don't show their pain, they hold it close to their heart. And so applying console close to our chest, onto our heart, onto our pulse points, smelling it, helps a racing heart or a regular heartbeat, and can also help the men in our life to express and work through their grief and loss without having to verbalize it, because sometimes that is very painful, and it's something that they're not trained in. Women, we talk about it, we get it out, and we talk about it and move it around. Men, it sits close to their heart. Peace. Peace is our reassuring blend. I just love peace. It's one of my favorite rollers. I think because it's got vetiver as one of the main ingredients, and I just love vetiver. For me, vetiver is it's a root of a grass, this thick sort of grass, and it's about, when the world gets overwhelming and we then go and we lie out on the grass and we look up at the sky, and we could just lie on the grass, maybe under a tree and looking up through the tree. It's that sort of thing. So vetiver is everything calming and grounding. It calms and grounds our minds and our bodies and our memories. So it's amazing for ADHD. It's amazing for attention stuff. It's amazing for the mind that overthinks in the middle of the night. Its properties are brave, composed, and flowing. Don't we all want that? To be brave, to be composed, and for our lives to flow. It's very good for security and worry. It's very good for nervousness and irritability, again, because it just gives that like grounding, calming thing. It's very good for restlessness and confusion, which a lot of our elderly family will struggle with. This restlessness and confusion that sometimes starts to come with things like Alzheimer's, or when we move, or dementia. It's good for ADHD and also for focus. Like our William is very focused academically. He doesn't have focus or attention issues, but vetiver, I added vetiver to his Serenity recently, because he always keeps a bottle of Serenity next to his bed, and he uses it at night, and he just was still struggling to sleep. So I added 5 drops of that, and I didn't tell him what it was. I just said, oh, well, I'll add something. The next day he came and said, Mum, I don't know what you added, but I slept the best that I've slept since we've been back at school. And he's grade 7, like term 3. There's a lot going on, exams, moving school, all that sort of stuff. And then last night, because I had the piece roller, because mine had finished, I gave it to him, and he smelled it, his whole body. He's like, oh, I love that smell. And Finn's like, oh, you sound so silly. Because, I mean, William's 13. He's like, you shouldn't be saying that. But William, just like every cell in his body, just loves this vetiver. So it's great for mental activity, hyperactivity and stress. And to put it under our big toe is a great place. Our big toe connects to our mind. It's our reflexology point for our mind. So that's a great place to put it on often. And just also, it's one I love to wear as a perfume. It's also very good for addictions and anorexia, and combines well with some of the other oils we'll talk about for addictions. It's also things for childbirth and recovery. So it's a lovely one to gift to a new mother. Allergies and overreaction, everything where it's heightened, we have overreactions, and it's good for calming. So colic and calming, infertility and fragility, because it allows us, and meditation, it allows us to be brave, composed, and to allow the process to flow. So I thought I loved peace before this, and afterwards I was like, oh my gosh, I just love this. Everyone should have some peace in their life. And I'd suggested for our Step into Spring, because we're talking about doing a Melissa challenge, but we don't have, and it from the 8th of November, which is a huge time energetically. It's the full moon lunar eclipse, last lunar eclipse of this year. It's a huge lunar eclipse. It's also the US election time. It's our doTERRA leadership event. There was something else also going on. Anyway, it's a huge time. And we're starting a Melissa challenge. It's a full moon, sorry. And we're doing, because we've now shared our schmutz, shared our shit, and now we're stepping into the light. And I felt that piece would be very expansive and could be a good substitute for Melissa, because we do have 13 Melissas for people, but we don't have enough Melissas. So I've suggested to people, if they want to do the Melissa challenge, maybe to get the piece instead. And then I started preparing for the class this morning, and I read about black pepper. Black pepper was actually the thing that I opened the book, and it just opened on black pepper. So I thought, okay, well, I'll start there. The first thing I saw is black pepper has a similar chemical structure to Melissa. How amazing. Who knew? Like, I would never in a million years have put Melissa and black pepper together. But it helps us step out of our darkness, our addictions, the things that hold us back, and into the light. Because our addictions and our things that hold us back, and black pepper is all about addictions. So the emotional quality of black pepper is from repressed to honest. Now, this isn't stuff doTERRA made up. These are the emotional qualities of the pure oils. That's why the pure oils are the ones I give these emotional qualities for. So repressed to honest. So let me just go into here. Oh, you see, I just opened the book and it was on black pepper again. So maybe the universe is giving me a message. So what's our darkness and our addictions, the things that hold us back? So its uses are for constipation, diarrhea, gas, this heaviness, the congestion, the constipation. It's also very good for respiratory and lymphatic drainage and cleansing. Again, really getting rid of our darkness, getting rid of the shit in our body, and helping us to move on. It's great for cramps, sprains, muscle spasms, using it topically and internally. Again, the things that are holding us back. Cataracts, who knew? To help us see clearly, to help us move forward and see clearly. Good for congested airways, good for colds, flu, aches and chills. And often flu is a message to us to slow down and turn inwards, and often we have particularly our children have a huge developmental step. We don't see it so much in ourselves, but anyone who's had a very sick child will know that after sickness has a big developmental step. In fact, there's all sorts of research on this and looking at children's drawing abilities before and after a big illness. So it helps us from being repressed, held back, to being honest. And it's brilliant for addictions. So we took a drop under our tongue, or we inhale. So this can be addictions to smoking particularly, but also any other addictions that we may have to sweets, to work, to food, to anything like that. And it helps with cravings and associated anxiety, because isn't it anxiety that drives our addictions? When we're feeling anxious, what do? we try, like we need to take ourselves away and breathe. And that's what I teach in my breathwork stuff. But often we have dysfunctional ways of doing this, like vaping or smoking. So we take ourselves away and vape or smoke. We take ourselves away and eat. We take ourselves away and do something that we actually would rather we didn't do. But so that's where black pepper is so amazing for this. And so black pepper and copaiba actually blend very well. And this is a major anti-anxiety duo. Again, not suppressing the anxiety, but helping our body to deal better with anxiety. So one can combine these in a little bit of water in a capsule, just taking them neat like that. Put black pepper on our food. It's a great food addition to food. A lot of these oils, if you use them in food, don't use a full drop because it's strong. So you literally dip a toothpick in and then put it in the food. Start off like that. Cassia. So Cassia is our Chinese cinnamon. I've never used Cassia until the spring shed. And it's a sort of softer type of cinnamon. It's almost more palatable, more enjoyable. I love cinnamon, but this is like a lovely, gentle form of cinnamon. And its emotional property is from uncertain to bold. And it's spicy, strong, and warming. So it's one of the warming and nourishing blends, and it also blends very well with ginger, which I've got in my water here, which is very nourishing and warming. And I heard Henrietta, one of our doTERRA leaders, talking about when you've been teaching a lot or giving out a lot of yourself or doing a lot of work, ginger is a way of nurturing and nourishing yourself, bringing energy back to yourself. It's so warming. And Cassia is the same. We can use it for the same thing, and we can use them together. And obviously ginger's in ZenGest, and it's in Smart and Sassy, which we'll talk about just now. We've been using it in our uncoffee coffee, and you can use it in that or in other drinks or foods, in your oat bowls and things like that. And in fact, in this book, it talked about cooking with it, obviously, and making a sweet candy water, which sounded interesting, with 1 drop of cassia and 2 drops of grapefruit, which I will try later. Only the Americans say sweet candy water. But I don't, so I do have grapefruit, but for those who get the box, you'll have Smart and Sassy, and that's got grapefruit in it. And so you could do it with 2 drops Smart and Sassy, 1 drop Cassia, and give it a go. So the magic of Cassia, wait for this. It helps us to speak our truth and to connect with boldness. This is basically what it does. And so this is the area that we speak our truth. This is, and we can connect with the world. And so it works on the oral and digestive system. So it literally goes from detoxing for nose, ear, throat, and lungs. It's good for upset stomach and vomiting. It's good for water retention and kidney vomiting. Good for upset stomach and vomiting, good for kidney retention and water retention and kidney infection. You see, I'm so carried away about. It's good for blood sugar balance and metabolism boost because it's cinnamon. You know, that's what cinnamon does, is blood sugar balance and metabolism regulation. And it's really great for cold extremities. So things like Raynaud's disease, circulatory stuff, you can use it topically. So it's all about circulation, flow, and our sort of digestive tract from start to finish. And then it improves sex drive, libido, because once you actually have a bit of energy, once you actually have a little bit of, you're feeling better about yourself, once you can speak your truth and connect, because also women, we connect and then we want to make love. Men want to make love and then they connect afterwards. So there's this like disconnect. We feel like they haven't heard us, so we don't really want to get intimate. They don't want to get intimate until, and then they'll speak to us once we've got intimate, because then they kind of can connect and trust. So there's this disconnect. So using Cassia can help us bridge that divide, because it helps us speak our truth and improves our libido. So isn't this the magic? Then we have citrus bloom and citrus bliss. Now, I actually didn't find that in the book here. So maybe it's in the, I don't know where citrus bloom is. It's not in the book, but it is one of my favorite perfume blends. Like I don't use other perfumes much anymore. And I use this. So this is a citrus bloom pre-made roller that I've been using for years. And I just love the scent of it. It's in my diffuser now. It's a beautiful floral citrusy, like it's a gentle but strong smell. And then to have it in the lotion is wonderful. Dom says that this works really well as an after sun lotion, because it's got all the healing healing other ingredients like, I don't know, the other oils. I haven't even looked in to see what's in it. I probably should have. Anyway, I ran out of time. And my eyes are not so great. I'm going to be using a little bit more. Yeah, so it's got orange oil, grapefruit oil, lavender, limonene, and anthemus or something like that. Anyway, those who might know better, but I just know I love the smell, and I know so many people who get it and just love the smell. Those of you who do have it and love the smell, let us know. And then I use this as a body lotion. I commented on our experience groups that I can only use natural creams. I use the Olive Natural Aqueous Cream. I use a very unfragranced creams on my body and on my face, and then I can add the oils to it. But for my body cream, this has just been amazing because I actually put it on yesterday because in honor of Citrus Bloom, I was using mine. I keep it in the car, and I put it on before I met someone yesterday, and she said, "Oh, you smell citrusy and florally," which I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And she doesn't even have oils; she had no idea. So that's that lovely duo. Then patchouli. Patchouli is actually one that I haven't really used and don't really know. And the properties are from degraded to enhanced. So it's actually has had a long history with the perfume trade. It's quite spicy. I actually do have an open one. It was very popular in the hippie era. And its properties are actually so degraded to enhanced. That's what the hippie era was all about. And the properties are calming, recovering, stabilizing. But it's so good again for anxiety and dopamine issues and for addiction. So let me get it here. Yeah, so anxiety and dopamine issues and addiction. And we get natural dopamine hits in our body every day. Healthy examples of this is when we have a connecting conversation and we have that buzz of life force energy. When we've had a run and we feel great, or a lovely walk, or we've seen a beautiful sight, or we've had a lovely massage, or we've laughed, we've had the belly laughing. Those feelings when we feel vital and our life force energy and we feel that sort of buzz, that's a dopamine hit. And we talk about this a lot in my talks and on my courses and things. But there are also dopamine hits that we have more unnaturally and actually aren't so good for us. The buzz on our phone when we get a notification. I've actually switched off all notifications on my phone. I check it when I want to, and because we get this like little buzz and then we kind of get addicted to it, we kind of start seeking it. From smoking and vaping, particularly from vaping, and then from porn. And the dopamine hit we get from porn is out of all proportion to the natural dopamine hit. So our body's like, whoa, like, wow, that felt good. But then we have this huge drop off. It's like a sugar spike, this huge escalation in sugar, and then this huge drop off. And then we're like, oh my God, I need that sugar because I'm now go way below normal levels. So then you have this, you like reach for, and you have the like sugary sugar you can get, like this chocolate bar, and then you go right up again, you feel like great again, and then it plummets again. So same with porn, it takes you on this unnatural journey. And in fact, at the same time, we our body starts saying, oh gosh, I've got too much dopamine, I must stop producing my own. So we stop producing our own dopamine and rely more and more on this hit. And it's quite astounding to see what it does to our bodies, because then we stop producing it, and then the dopamine hit starts wearing off from the porn, and we start to see people shrink into these versions of themselves that have lost their joy, lost their connection, lost their happiness, lost that life force energy and vitality. This is why it is so dangerous. And so patchouli is so good for recovering from addiction, along with black pepper in combination, and copaiba. And so, yeah, that's just a brief thing on that. And it's also so great for shingles and herpes and nerve recovery, which I didn't realize either. I've always used helichrysum for that. And I mean, I just love helichrysum. Those of you who know me know it's my favorite oil. We also call it liquid stitches, but now I'm going to start using patchouli. It's a bit cheaper than helichrysum, especially because I dish it out to everyone left, right, and center. But it's great for shingles and herpes, and there is such an outbreak of shingles and herpes at the moment. I don't know what's going on in our world. As a physio, I've never seen youngsters getting shingles and herpes like this. But again, I wonder whether it's COVID or the COVID vaccine. Anyway, there is an outbreak, and patchouli can help. And patchouli is great for everything, skin and hair, and nerve to our skin. So dry skin and dandruff, oily hair and impetigo, skin and stretch marks, insect bites, snake bites, stings, anything to our skin, body odor. That's why it's so good with perfume and natural deodorants. And then it's great for nerve issues and for soothing and healing nerves, and for internal toxicity and appetite and weight issues. So again, this is about shedding the weight that we carry. So that's patchouli, and which is on today with Serenity. So Serenity, you buy Serenity and you get a patchouli free. The Serenity is our restful blend. Tertia gave the analogy of being in a canoe on a very flat, calm lake and being able to look into the water and see yourself. And that's what the restful blend Serenity does, because it's very tranquil. You can see yourself in the calm. It's sweet, warm, and calming. It's great for sleep and insomnia. It's also got vetiver in it already. So, I mean, you use peace and serenity, oh my gosh, you are going to sleep very well. It's also good for stress and anxiety. It doesn't tranquilize like a tranquilizer does. It just calms and quiets, and we all need a bit more calm and quiet. And it also calms and quiets fears and anger and irritation and agitation. So calms and quiets everything. That is Serenity. It's also got amazing oils, like, anyway, we won't even go into those, but beautiful, beautiful oils. And so those are the BOGOs. Those are the pairs that we've been having this week. If you buy it as a box, you get a free Smart and Sassy and free shipping. So even if you bought now pairs and you decide, actually, I want to get the whole thing, it's not too late. You can, there are a lot of people who will be wanting the extras. So speak to the person who ordered for you, or keep it and gift the other ones. And then the box will give you Smart and Sassy as well, which is one of our favorite oils. It's one of our most used oils. It comes with the Family Essentials kit. Smart and Sassy is about loving the parts of ourselves that aren't so lovable, and honoring ourselves and seeing the beauty in ourselves. So it's great for cellulite, loving the parts of ourselves that aren't so lovable. We encourage people to put it on that area and rub it in, or dry body brush the areas that we haven't felt great loving feelings towards. Instead of wishing them away, offering them more love and nurturing as we do this. It's great because it's got all these citrus oils of peppermint, grapefruit, lemon, peppermint, ginger, and cardamom. So it's great for reducing appetite and cravings. It's called Slim and Sassy in the US. We call it Smart and Sassy. It's called Slim and Sassy for good reason, because it's a really good digestive stimulant, digestive calming. It helps you to lose weight. It's useful for eating disorders. So again, on the other side, it's good for eating disorders, not going to make you lose weight obsessively. It's good for obesity and low metabolism and balancing blood sugar. And it's very good for detox and cleansing. It's also one of our morning capsule for the spring shed. We encourage a lot of use of spring Smart and Sassy. It's good lymphatic stimulant and support, good for UTIs, urinary tract infection support, inflammatory issues, and things like high cholesterol. So that is that. Then actually, if you haven't got oils yet and you are wanting to venture in, so I'm going to actually start sharing my screen. So let me go into, give me a second. Are you still there? Oh, thank goodness, I thought I lost you for a moment. Okay, here, share screen. So that, is the box. Where did I put it now? Oh, you know what? Give me a moment. So, but if you don't have oils yet and you're wanting to get oils, it actually comes, sorry, give me a moment. We're doing something called Diamond Club at the moment, or I certainly am, and a lot of our team members are. And if you want to get the box, because of the Diamond Club, you can actually, so this is the box there. Okay, I think you can now, can you see that? I don't know if you can see all sorts of other things too, but you get the idea. With Diamond Club, you get a free Citrus Bliss, which, so along with the Smart and Sassy, you'd get the Citrus Bliss. Citrus Bliss is one of our favorite oils for just uplifting mood. All the citrus oils uplift mood. It's very good for low energy and exhaustion, and actually for depression, stress, anxiety, and depression. It's so uplifting. It's good for eating disorders. It's good for cleaning laundry and cleaning in a cleaner, and it's good for lymphatic and immune boost. So it's our invigorating blend. It's when you pause to uplift and invigorate your senses with this blend of citrus bliss oil, essential oils, you'll find increased energy and zest for life. So that comes as well with as a free gift for this, and it's for the same price. And then if you decide that you want to add a couple of other things like a deep blue rub or deep blue stick and the clary calm, which is our women's hormones blend, you can then get the citrus bliss and a Copaiba. It's a lot to go into. We can talk you through it. Another Copaiba, so you'd end up getting 2 Copaibas, which, as you've gathered, we use a lot. So that is my half-hour class, which wasn't so much half an hour, but I hope it was interesting, and I hope it answered some of your questions. So when you get the oils, because this is a lot, it's our job as wellness advocates, whoever introduced you to this class will teach you how to use your oils. They'll sit with you when you first get your oils, and they'll go through them. These oils or different kits, depending on what you get. They set up a protocol for you and your family. We've got we gift you a little ready to roll kit, which is a kit with rollers and spray bottles and fractionated coconut oil to get going, so you can make rollers, so that's very easy for you. We have a little 6-week drop into flow course, which is a lovely course to get your head around understanding how to use it. And we've got a little private team website and app, and we have community groups. We have WhatsApp groups and experience groups. So this is a journey of self-empowerment and self-responsibility, and you coming back to yourself and to your body's wisdom. And because we really know, but that has been something that's not a message that we get from society. We especially as women, disempower ourselves because our gynae knows how to birth our baby, our ped knows what's wrong with our baby, we hand over so much to these people, and we're grateful for them, for their expertise, but we kind of disempower ourselves at the same time. And actually we know, and this is a journey of self-responsibility and self-empowerment, but we are here with you. You are not on this journey alone. We are here holding your hands, cheering you on from the sidelines, here to support you in whatever way we can. So thank you for your time, and I'm just having a look at some of the chat. Copaiba is my most used and treasured oil, Marianne says. I know she just went to Ireland recently, and she said when they travel, it's always difficult and stressful, and she just said it was totally different with Copaiba. You're welcome to unmute and ask questions, anyone, or comment on what I'm saying. And then Ruth, I think that's Console. That's your favorite everyday blend. Brilliant for arrhythmia. You see, I mentioned that later. And Patchouli for face. For 14-year-old with shingles, I'd use it topically. I'd do it layering it and using it. And I'd probably add lavender and tea tree to it as well, because those are such, and maybe even Copaiba. And so they could layer it and do it in a roller. Yeah, and dilute in place on the shingles frequently. Like with these sort of things, the more you use it up front, the more you use it in the beginning, the quicker the recovery will be. Don't do it only 4 to 6 hours or twice a day. You want to use it far more frequently. That's where the roller is so helpful. But then putting the oils on one at a time makes it far more neat. Anyway, I've got someone arriving here, so I'm not going to hang around, but I just want to see if there's any questions, or if anyone wants to unmute. And I hope you enjoyed the class and found it interesting. I found it interesting.
It was wonderful, Nicola. Thank you.
Pleasure, Ruth. Thank you.
It was great.
Yeah, thanks, Nicola. I appreciated it.
Pleasure. Thanks, Jean-Marie. Lovely to have you. And hello, Maria. Yeah, and if there are any questions, please also ask on your experience groups. I'm going to start processing this recording, and we'll hopefully place it on the groups. And if you did enjoy it, please can you comment on the groups that you enjoyed it, because it will encourage other people to listen. And I really do think that this is a box for our times, and it's such a reasonable box for it's so well priced, it's so accessible, and it just covers so much. So love to you all. Thank you. And thanks, V. Happy Friday.